Hello everyone, how are you doing? Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you may be watching this video. My name is Daryl Guberman. I am the CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. We've been open for 13 years as of August 2024. My background being, since we have a very special guest, we have Roberta Misalovic from Latham Airlines. The aircraft 787 had some issues in Australia, and we want to illuminate Roberto to the issues that are going on in quality. So I'm going to put you down, Roberto, maybe take you out, but I'm glad you made it here. I appreciate it, and here we go. Today, this video is about 50 people injured after a strong movement on a Boeing flight to New Zealand. Tragedy looms. And I'm telling you again and again and again, I have used the terminology, if you don't use goob, you'll get screwed. I have given my CV into Boeing to assist them getting out of this quagmire. And if they don't utilize my talents and abilities, and I say this humbly, okay, my background being aerospace, medical implants, medical materials, printing and plastic distribution, we dealt with every company under the sun. We have over 16 letters of recommendation from customers and some friends of ours who've known us long term that can be a viable form of my integrity. Talking about our background, being involved with quality for over 40 plus years. Roberto, what I'm going to tell you is a fact. Everything in here is quantifiable and correct. It is not a conspiracy theory. And after all, they always say, and I am Jewish, but they said a very nice thing, and I love this statement. In a dark room, Roberto, all it takes is one candle to light it. And as Confucius said, it is not the droplet of water that wears away the mighty stone, but it is its persistence. We have contacted the news agencies, CNN, Fox News, CNBC, MSNBC, and this issue has fallen on deaf ears, and when the next plane goes down, and it's going to go down, I guarantee it, just about, I can guarantee it because they have something called accumulating tolerances. You will see that in 2002, Boeing gave their suppliers the authority to just send in a certificate, send in your parts, and Boeing doesn't have to even go see the facility, which means that facility could be made in the Amazon River Basin. It could be made in the Grand Canyon. It could be made in the swamp, those parts. So here we go. Roberto, sit down, strap yourself in, because you're in for a hell of a ride. ANSI is the American National Standards Institute. It is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental corporation with federal agencies and corporations on board. You have the accreditation body, ANAP, who sits on ANSI's board, and vice versa. In 2018, ANSI took over complete control over ANAP. Also, between the years of 2015 and 21, ANSI and ANAP, they still sit on the International Accreditation Form, which was handed over in 2015 to a communist Chinese national, a Zhao Jinwu, who's been involved with our quality in the United States and the world since 1994. He at the time was the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services in Beijing, China. In 2017, there is a picture of him. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just enough. There's a picture of him in the laboratory at Wuhan, China. Yes, the laboratory that released the COVID virus. The reason why I said it released it, just let me tell you this. 2017, he gave them a quality certificate for laboratory accreditation. 2018, a contingency from the United States went to Wuhan, China to take a look at that lab. The scientists were just about in tears saying we need trained technicians. In 2019, the Center for Disease Control, who also sits on ANSI's board, came up with a training document for virology labs in China. Not any virology lab, just one, Wuhan, China. And it stated on page 3 that the most integral part of containment for any bio-level 4 lab to maintain its integrity and keep things, pathogens from escaping the lab is trained technicians. So Zhao Jinwu, who issued the cert, gave it to an incompetent, what it sounds like, laboratory, a laboratory that didn't have any trained technicians, which should have been an integral part of the laboratory overview and certification process. It is absolutely deplorable. So you had them there. At the time, China had the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7, which meant that they could take your data. It's for espionage. In 2013, I gave a speech at the American Society for Quality, Roberto, and there was a gentleman there, Region 3 Director, Dave Levy, okay? At that time, the American Society for Quality owned the American National Crediting Board 50%. He said, Mr. Guberman, we have the data. I'm not making this up. He said, Mr. Guberman, ANAP has no problem with you. In fact, we support you, sir. In 2016, because I was exposing this quagmire with Boeing and Lockheed, etc., Lockheed Martin, let me just give you a tidbit of information. Lockheed Martin, our number one manufacturer for aerospace, not aerospace, but for military use. An article came out, and it's going to be down in the description. Everything will be down below, Roberto. I'm just telling you that down in the description, it states that after their 801st F-35, they still are having quality issues. What kind of corrective action? What kind of improvement is that? It's zero improvement. Why? Because they sit on ANSI's board, right over by the FAA, just like Boeing. We're going to continue on. So, here we go. ANSI-ANAP have over 10 different registrars in China that can issue an ANAP accreditation. They're also underwriters. ANSI-ANAP are underwriters for the International Accreditation Forum, which is a repository for international national accreditation bodies. They are an underwriter. They take all legal responsibility for not systematic failure, but also for product failure. By the way, let me get back to this just a second. Randy Doty, who was a technical advisor in 2016, he was the principal on the IAF 990 tax form. When he handed over leadership in 2015, he was the vice president of ANAP, the chairman of the IAF. So take a look at that. He asked us to join either ANAP or IAF, but how in good conscience, as a proud American, you hear about all this hacking going on with China and the federal agencies that we have and corporations that sit on ANSI's board, by the way. I could not do that. I would not do that, and I will not do that. I do not compromise the integrity of our country to make a buck. That's for sure, unlike some other companies. So we continue on. I did not join. So here you go. You have this federal contract, a standard operating work order, which is from 2018, and it states that ANAP, or ANSI-ANAP, is an underwriter for the IAF, which means they take full legal responsibility. So with your aircraft that had an issue from Boeing, you not only take Boeing to task, but you also take ANSI-ANAP because they're the accreditation body that certified the system, which also, by them being underwriters, they take full responsibility over the quality of the product. Now we go into Boeing. Boeing, here we go. You have the actual, here it is, the actual bulletin for suppliers, which state an on-site Boeing survey, which is an audit of suppliers' quality system if need be. Our preference is to deal with proven suppliers with excellent quality performance and not have to do on-site quality system survey/audit. Let me tell you, Roberto, what that means in brief. Send in your AS9100 certificate, which is for Aerospace International Standard for Aerospace. Everybody handles one of this who deals in the aerospace community. As long as it's ANSI-ANAP accredited, send it in to us. Send us your parts, and Boeing doesn't have to do any on-site audits. Now you want to know why your quality is so bad on those aircraft? There you go. Another item is this. Here's the actual article, Roberto, from 2009, when FAA gave regulatory authority to Boeing. This means, let me just read it to you, Roberto, because you're the CEO. You don't know these things. I'm going to educate you now. It stated, FAA increased authority of Boeing's commercial airplane division to self-certify its own aircraft. So when you hear in the news that the NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, is trying to get data from the Alaskan Air that popped its cork, popped its door, and Boeing is refusing because, number one, I understand they can't find the paperwork. That's kind of embarrassing. That goes against all the principles of AS9100 accredited by ANSI-ANAP. And also the factor that David Calhoun here, the CEO, in 2019, when he took over being the CEO, he was also made an FAA administrator. Yes, If they're given regulatory authority, that means he's the administrator. Don't let anybody kid you. And here's where it gets a little bit sticky. Authority extended to Boeing under the new system allows Boeing employees to perform tasks on behalf of the FAA that include oversight of testing and product standards, along with certification of aircraft technologies and new aircraft designs. Along with certification of aircraft technologies, that's the MCAS system that was on the Ethiopian Air and Indonesian Air. They didn't have to tell anything to the FAA. They are the FAA. Here's Boeing. Very nice, Boeing. Now, Boeing sat and sits on ANAB's board, ANSI ANAB's board. And they sit on the board of directors that guides the company, and they also sit on the ANAB Management System Accreditation Council, grants, suspends, and withdraws accreditation of certification bodies, which means registrars. They can take the registration certificate away. And Roberto, I've been involved with quality for 40 plus years. The only time I ever saw a certificate taken away is for lack of payment. Now, as a FAA regulator, you would think that Boeing would have pride. Well, they didn't have pride because they were caught in 2017 fudging documentation on their aircraft, along with their steel manufacturer, Kobe Steel. Do you remember that? Well, these are the articles. Within the context of the description, you will find the information embedded in the feature articles. Just most recently, the Boeing Bell V-22 composite facility in Pennsylvania got fined by the Department of Justice, which you'll find in here. The DOJ also sits on ANSI over by Boeing. You see how it's a happy family? Unbelievable. They got fined $8.1 million for kind of fudging the documentation again from 2007 to 2018. And here they are. The supplier portal of Boeing states that it's got to be, the supplier must be ANSI, ANAB, or internationally equivalent. You have 7 different registrars on ANSI ANAB's board that use the ANAB accreditation. So, Roberto, can we have confidence in the integrity of quality that ANSI ANAB dispenses via these registrars? Absolutely not. There is zero, and I mean zero oversight, and we have the data to quantify my statement. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not hacking up a competition, because that's what we did in 2012. We opened up a registrar to compete against this mess because it's a fucking mess. I apologize for the F word. The reason why I used it is, I will tell you this. This article's down below too. Is that Patrick Shanahan, at the time, he was the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and now he's the Chief Executive of the Spirit Aerospace Systems that supply materials to Boeing. He said, when asked about the F-35 program, he said it was fucked up. So the word fuck is his word that I utilize because he was in the government. Anyway, you have the FAA that sits on ANSI's board. The FAA, here you go. You have the Department of Transportation. And most recently, we saw in the news that the Department of Justice, where is he? I think he ran away. Did he? No, there he is. Do you see him right here? Merrick Garland. The Department of Justice is looking into Boeing, right? But look at this. I want to show you this, Roberto. Take a good look. You see this? You have the factor that the Department of Justice sits right over by Boeing. You think anything constructive is going to happen? Absolutely not. 203-556-1493 or Daryl, TQRS @yahoo.com. I thank you.